Greetings guys, top of the morning, Coach Theo here on Common Sense. In this video guys, I promise I will be getting more concrete about the actual natural bodybuilding side of things, relating all the weird spiritual stuff I've been talking about in my most recent videos to that part. The building the muscle, getting jacked, losing the fat, getting ripped, mastering the fitness natural bodybuilding side of things so that you can embody Giga Chad in the physical form. And I will timestamp this video for you that think you know better than your teacher what you need to know to get the kind of result your teacher already has. It just is quite stupid to me. Like, I would just put myself in the student seat and be like, okay, I'm not quite understanding where Theo is coming from. Like, I'm even annoyed and bothered by some things he's saying, but I can clearly see that he has the result that I'm looking for. He knows what he's doing, and he seems to really want to help me. He's really trying to make me understand something. So I guess I'll be humble and curious and really try to understand where Theo is coming from, because I know it will benefit me the most in the end, okay? Something you have to realize about Theo is, first of all, we're keeping this third person bit every once in a while. Like, I think it's very, very useful. We'll confuse the hell out of some new people, but you know, we'll take that on the chin. Something you gotta realize about Theo is that Theo has, throughout the entirety of his life, had to explain himself so much to other people. And look, that can be a very common human need, just the need to explain yourself, to try to feel seen and understood for who you are. And Theo obviously has that as well, but for the most part, Theo just noticed, since as long as he can remember, he noticed that he was different to most other kids at that point, right? That things that clearly were difficult for most of the other kids just wasn't for him, okay? Obvious stuff like learning to read and write, learn to speak very early, probably surprises no one with how much I talk, the way I talk, but yeah, he noticed that. And there's also some other things that are harder to quite put a finger on. Just this seeing the bigger picture sort of thing, seeing patterns. And another part is actually empathy, just being hypersensitive. Like, honestly, Theo has been quite annoyed at the start here, but he is underslept. He's just running on spirit energy. Like, he's built his body and mind very strong, but now, even when they're almost all depleted, the spirit energy is so high, they just like, gotta get it to you. Theo is a highly sensitive person, which many don't quite understand what it means. It can mean that you're like reactive, lash out to stuff, but it just means that you sense things really strongly, right? So even without having to like be all logical, you can often just sense stuff from other people. And yeah, so to be honest, there are many things that are really great about being Theo that Theo really can't take much credit for, that he started that way. He didn't have to do anything to be like that from the start. There always comes a downside though. Obviously he has weaknesses too, but it's also extremely quite frustrating, okay? That people just don't get it. Like, okay, I don't feel seen and heard, but also you just don't fucking get it. Like, if you could just listen to me, everything would work out for the best, all right? So yeah, Theo is running on spirit energy, but he's going to have to stop every once in a while to just keep himself from going crazy when a train passes by, something like that, to be able to be coherent here. But please, also what Theo wants to like to stop and say here is that the way he has figured himself out, just the way he describes his story, how he related to other people, how things were, it's very important that you understand yourself this way, okay? So other than this, noticing that he's like mostly better at stuff than other people, and also, by the way, that they just have all these functions that to begin with he doesn't really understand, right? Like, they're just weird things that everyone else seems to do, and even when he understands it, like, okay, I see why they're doing it, but it's really shit strategy. Like, if they could just do things my way, it would be better. It just would be, okay? But so, other than this, that also Theo was brought up with an autistic brother. Keep calm, serenity now. That was even weirder than Theo, even more uncommon than Theo. So you see, Theo has, through the entirety of his life, had to practice understanding like more normal people more normative than him, and people even weirder than him. And this puts him in a position where he often understands other people better then they understand themselves in some aspects. Of course not everything, but certain aspects of other people he just understands better than they even do themselves. But also generally he understands other people better than they understand him. And that's the frustrating part, that people, because you're the different one, they're gonna think that oh, Theo, he just sees things his way. It's like, no, Theo is his way, but he's been forced to try to understand other people, right? And even weirder people. Like, he's really had a huge practice in understanding himself and other people this way. He has to understand himself more, because clearly, in what ways am I different? Okay, now that I understand how I am, how are the other people, right? And so this is what makes Theo a really great coach, okay? But so this is all going to be relevant. We're going to start transitioning to the natural bodybuilding stuff. But what you have to understand is Theo just had some of his starting stats that were really quite useful. They started out quite high, and he's lucky in that regard. But he has noticed that things that he didn't have good starting stats with, he's been able to get really quite good at some of them, or at least improve, but some really, really good, and even better at the starting stats that were already quite high. So he knows the same goes for you. You can learn to be more like him. You're never going to be him, and you're not supposed to be Theo. I'm Theo, you're supposed to be you, but you can learn from Theo and notice some stats that you could improve on. When you notice them, you can actually put stat points in them, right? And so what Theo's ego would like to say is that people don't understand me. But Theo knows that the most useful way to look at it is that I am failing to make myself understood, okay? I'm failing to communicate in a way so that other people actually get it, okay? That's taking on a lot of responsibility, okay? Because, like I said, dropping the Theo bit now, like I said, I generally understand other people better than they understand me, but that it doesn't serve me to think of it that people just don't understand. Because then I'm putting the responsibility on them, that they're supposed to just be able to understand me better without me changing. But no, I have to change then. I have to change the way I express myself, adjust. I have to ask you guys, are you even fucking understanding what I'm talking about? Please, because it's so funny. It's so funny, you know. So many things that people think that Theo doesn't understand, or that he does that he shouldn't. He both understands it, and you do the thing that you says he does that he shouldn't, right? Point being, many think Theo is like a bully or too critical, too blunt. Like, if you don't think that Theo actually means harm, it's like, well, you don't have to say it like that though. People will think this, people will think that. It's like, well, people think a lot of stuff that's wrong, no matter what I do. So, even sometimes I just know that provoking in that way is for the other person's benefit, even. So I'm happy to be provoked. I learn from my triggers. It's like, you see the way I've engaged with haters, right? I've learned so much about myself and about those kinds of people, right, from doing that. Point being is that fucking just tell me, call me out. It's like positive or negative doesn't really exist. If you realize, just like Theo is trying to do here, clearly we're switching back and forth from the Theo and I, but just like Theo is actually, if you take him on his way, Theo is trying to help you. Everything he says is geared towards helping you, making you understand something so that you become better, can grow as a person. Theo wants the same. Just fucking tell him. If you want him to grow as a coach, he's now asking. I wonder sometimes, is it just intimidating? Am I intimidating, you know? It's so weird, guys. I promise, the timestamp is coming up. But clearly I gotta look out for Theo, like explain a little bit for Theo's sake too. Theo is really bad at looking out for himself. Like, he's learned so much, like that's why he's gotten this result. But in the end, it's like Theo milks himself dry, gives the milk to everyone else. There's barely anything left for him. Gotta give Theo a little milk here. That, you know, just recently, like online and stuff, I'm thickening my skin. That I'm seeing more and more clearly just random haters, like for what they are. I'm getting less and less triggered myself because of exposing myself to that, just like to hard training, just like to fasting. You see, It's making myself more resilient by facing that kind of thing. But recently, a couple of people, like, not going to be specific. I might tell some of the stories in their own videos because they're interesting, just cases on their own. But some people have that Theo really didn't expect, have completely misunderstood him and become so angry at him, super triggered. And Theo, as always, it's such a weird position to be in, Theo, as always, because he had to learn, like, oh, I did something wrong. I didn't get that other people are like this, so, okay, I had to adjust. He used to feel much worse about himself in that way. Like his mom, honestly, his dear precious mom, that he's gotten really so many of his strengths from. But she still looks, in many ways, sees it as her way of being is wrong, right? Her way of being is wrong. It's harmful to other people. But like my mom can't see, we're actually ones that try to understand the other people and adjust our behavior, and they fail to understand us, right? So many times I go through this process of, and I see this reaction for this person. I'm like, I'm so surprised. Because I'm, in these cases too, that makes it even clearer in the end that, as so many times before, not always, okay, but as so many times before, I was just right again, okay? But it's even clearer when I'm not triggered at all, when this person is so angry at me, right? Yeah, and I take in what they say. I'm like, this doesn't sound like me at all. And the more the person talks, I'm like, you're doing exactly what you're telling me I'm doing, and if I tell them, they get even madder, right? And finally, it's like I cannot do anything. If I try to explain myself, my side, or help them see something, they get even madder. What am I supposed to do? Just be like, okay, I mean, I think you're completely wrong. I'm not really hurt by what you said. I just don't fucking know how to go from here. Am I just gonna pretend I agree with you? No, I think the best thing is that the truth comes out. The truth, okay? That's the thing. When you dare to actually face yourself, and you do that over and over and over and over, you're going to come closer to the truth, and you're going to be right most of the times, right? Not best. Just be the most honest, the most genuine, the most authentic. And even a thing like that, people are then, it's understandable to a degree that when you say, oh, I'm almost always right. I'm so fucking great and smart and introspective and humble facing myself that I'm almost always right. Oh, people, they always get triggered by me, and they're the problem. But it's like at a point that's just true. So you see, guys, I explain myself so much to you. In this video, definitely to look out for Theo a little bit, give him a little bit of that milk. But it's like, I want you to fucking understand, It's like, just dare to agree with me that I am really fucking great at some things and that you have a lot to learn from me. And really, really try to see that perspective. You can learn, because that's always the point that people fucking misunderstand too. That it's not that you should just bow down to my greatness. Is if you're humble enough to just allow this to be the case, you can take it in. You can become more like that yourself, and that's Theo's entire goal here. Not this huge ego trip to just inform everyone about how fucking great he is at things, just for the sake of everyone kissing his feet, okay? So, guys, how this all relates to the natural bodybuilding side of things, it's I've done the exact same things about everything that relates to that process, okay? Because when I get into it, let me tell the story of how I get into it and what it looks like when I further master it, okay? It's I notice these things that I now see in all the people. It's become clearer and clearer and clearer to me throughout the years. I notice this when I'm not fit. I am not the person that is fit. I'm not doing all this stuff, right? So I need to learn the stuff. I start Googling. I remember reading like articles and stuff. I'm trying to really figure out like, what is it that builds muscle, right? What actually is it? And there's so much conflicting information, the different schools of thought. And this that I read, it said this about this, and I'm looking for the perfect answer, right? But I realize that I'm not finding a perfect answer. I still feel confused about what I'm supposed to do. So I guess I'll just fucking have to pick something. I just have to pick something and start. I know I followed once a negative pull-up scheme, like progression scheme. I'll just do that to begin with, because I remember I improved on it. I'll just follow it the way it was. And I add push-ups in, because that's accessible when I train at home. I guess, to me, it makes sense that I have to, logically, it seems like I have to push my body to the limit, to send some sort of signal to the body that, oi, this was too much, gotta, become stronger for the next time. And I noticed that was the case when I pushed my sets to failure, which was way more difficult. Way more difficult. It starts burning and feeling intense, and you make all the sounds and noises way earlier in the set, right? But I pushed to failure for the most part in like everything that I did. And I noticed, and my idea was always, of course, mainly with bodyweight stuff, it's about reps, right? Try to do more. And I also figured out that, well, I could probably add weight to bodyweight exercises and do that. But so many things like this, like how much volume? Well, what I figured out is that if I'm in a state of progression with these things, a state of progression as in, if I have something that I can measure is getting more, that must translate to bigger muscles, at least within a certain frame, right? Because it's like, beyond a certain rep range, for instance, it's not a hypertrophic stimulus anymore. And these things, that kind of info is quite available, for instance. So if you just base, when I based my initial approach off of that, it's like I found that those rep ranges, like not going over 25 reps probably, is for the most part, is good. And then, trying to understand different exercises, what muscle, the functions, Romanian deadlifts, for instance, I did not understand at all the movement. I did this, that many people do. It's like a half squat or something. But gradually, by just being really interested and curious, like, I accepted that I don't quite know what I'm doing. I may be doing some things wrong, but as long as the big pattern here is that a progression is taking place, that still must mean that I'm making something happen, and I could see it. I could see it in the mirror, I could see it in the numbers, and then through taking imperfect action, things, some things, that's the point. Some things cannot just be explained with words to you. That's why I'm so big on experience is the only true knowledge. Theo here can point you in a direction. He can make something seem like feasible enough so that you go there, but it's not until you actually do it, and repeatedly, and observe yourself and question yourself, am I doing the right thing? Not from a place of anxiousness, of curiosity. What's going on here? Could something be improved? What am I feeling? What am I noticing? Right? You're improving it over time. So that's the first thing with the perfectionist thing that's so reoccurring to people, that I noticed this too, that when you do a mistake somehow, when you go off the plan somehow, there's a big temptation to just say, fuck it, like it's a ruined day. I might as well, I ate candy, I might as well just eat this too, I skipped the workout, well, I don't need to have a proper meal, not need, I wouldn't think of it like that, but you see, it often happens that way. And I had already learned, though, from my panic attack experience that progress in all senses is not linear. When the further you master what you do and yourself, it's going to look more linear, but everything is just not going to be. Like with the panic attacks, the exposure therapy. One day I could go through with going to my work and riding out a bit of a panic attack and getting home, only to the next day not even make it there, right? But in the end, by doing it, getting up again, doing it again, accepting this imperfect pattern, gradually still progression, getting better was the trend, right? So I realized that as long as the trend is progression, that's good, and clearly it's not the end of the world if you do a little mistake, if you let that be all that it is, right? So I learned to, not only push hard, but when I failed to do so, when I came up short somehow, accept it as soon as possible and just move on as if it didn't happen. I noticed that then it kind of literally was as if it didn't happen. And this is what I now see with so many people that they fail to do. They just cannot do that part. Fuck it, I'd start again tomorrow, because you gotta have a perfect day, of course. You gotta have a perfect day. And then you don't do it again. You do this fucking thing all week, right? But then when it comes to the actual training side of things, it's so much about, you do take in inspiration, impressions. Yeah, you do take, like, follow YouTubers and stuff, and then just go trying it. Go trying stuff without quite knowing. Like, of course, if there's something that intuitively, that seems like the right thing, go for that one. But just be curious to try different things, and you will notice through your experience. That's the, in Swedish we say facit, is like the answer sheet to sort of the test. You go test it, and you will find the answers, right? And by doing this more and more and more and more, it becomes, like, all this becomes so much second nature. One reason it's hard for me, like, I love my training, and I can get very into it if I'm asked specific questions about it and that. But at a time like this, I'm so excited about all the other stuff that the training is all clear. It's not like I can't learn more, but it's like, it's very interesting to me when I say, you need to know this thing about training. Well, I'm going to tell you, I love this, that I can give you this. But it will not appear naturally in my head, because I don't think about my training at all now when I'm not in the gym. It's like, it's so automated, right? Because it's just second nature at this point. I find it interesting watching Jeffrey Verity Schofield, someone you will notice I bring up sometimes. I see quite a few similarities between him and I. So he's a very similar starting stat kind of person like me, probably with just a more calm upbringing. I mean, I talked to him, so I know he didn't have, like, major, like, he didn't have the situation with my brother and violent home and stuff, right? But the way he speaks about training, he thinks about training so much in stories. I think that's fucking great, Me, I'm such a holistic guy that at times, like when I start bulking, for instance, I'm sure I'll naturally think more about training. It will come more naturally to do more concrete training videos like that. But I think about this holistic sense, mastering me. The training is already going well. I can further master myself now as a coach, so that I teach you these things, right? And again, I know that all the technical stuff from the training, it does not matter at all if you cannot get this other stuff into your head, okay? Because I'm trying to make it more concrete, guys. Like, please do let me know if it isn't, right? Or be clear about what you want to know also, technical or not, maybe the way I say this now, it sounds like, I don't know, condescending or angry or something. I'm just like, come on, bro. Tell me, I'm here to help, but you gotta be fucking clear about what how can I best help you, right? Tell me that, inform me. But the diet side of things, it's like similar, You notice, you don't quite know, like, what foods are the best, and well, I guess I just pick what I think is good, chicken, rice, broccoli. That I always say that to summarize how I started with diet. And then, counting calories. I use the calculator, okay, these are my numbers, so I can watch the scale, and then taking in more info, I get updated ideas about food, and I will notice what I just feel the best from, right? But, also noticing this when you try to lose weight, that it's difficult, you get cravings, and sometimes you might slip, but it's the same thing goes there. It's like, if you can't be this, like, fuck, now I did it again, I might just binge, might just binge, and I'll start again tomorrow, and you feel like shit the next day, and you're like, oh no, I'll never be able to do it. I'll just get the pizza again, You have to learn to, don't have to be perfect. You really don't have to. It's like, if people could just get out of their own way, they don't realize how little if they just did it, it would be so little they had to do to get really fucking great results, That's what's so clear now, looking back at everything. I, of course, just didn't have the information, But really, when I started, I literally started with like 5 sets of negative pull-ups, 3 of which were heavy, 3 days per week. That's what all I did, And people commented before, like, that I had muscle from just that, literally just that. I guess because I probably didn't end up being as concrete as I had in mind, because I get in, you see what the things I really think matters, that I understand that people need to know, because I see it so much in people everywhere, okay, everywhere. My clients, people around me, people, the way they ask questions, what they focus on and what they tell me about, it's like, this is what you actually need to know, okay? But it's like, all this stuff, guys, it's, you gotta take action. You gotta take action, imperfect action towards perfection, closer and closer to perfection, okay? That's why I'm like almost always right, okay? Because I've just tried and watched myself. What went wrong here? Was I wrong? Okay, I'm sorry. I'll adjust. I'll do this again. You know, try this way. Oh, I did the same mistake again. Clearly, this is hard for me. Well, I'll just try my best to improve just a little bit more the next time, right? And this acceptance of imperfect action while still staying consistent as a pattern, that you keep rising up and trying again. Don't let the smallest mistake get in the way. Don't let that become the trend. As long as you do that, you're like, it's unless you do try so very poorly, that you do so very little or something, you train so far away from failure and stuff. If you keep taking action with the intention of progressing and allow for small inconsistencies, it's like inevitable that you'll find your way there, okay? I'm trying to figure out, that's why I'm saying that if you just try so poorly with this, you don't train hard at all, you know, you could do 20 reps and you do 10 all the time, right? I really have to go out of my way for these pieces of information. I've said it so many times, you know, the intention to progress, accepting that you cannot be perfect like a fucking robot that just executes this script without error every day, you know. If you do this, you'll gradually execute the script with almost flawlessly, right, in the end. What more do you need to know? Follow a program. Follow any fucking program, you know. Follow any of mine. The Solar Night Apprentice, the Nick the Stick Gets Thick. I guess my program, that's just a bit too heavy to start. But it's like, take any reasonable fitness person, take a program from them, start it, do what I said, have this intention to progress, allow for minor inconsistencies, don't, you know, acceptance for the inconsistencies, but not too much allowance to go off plan. That's the point, is that balance between, that's a positive and negative self-talk, you know. You're learning, you've done well overall, you made one mistake, it's not the end of the world, big guy, you know, but it's like, okay, now you're making excuses to keep going even further. It's like, okay, big guy, come here, come in this direction again. This, you know you can do better than that, at least, you know. That's it. It's all about the relationship to self. And I guess the part that I should try to focus more on is, because this is so much about the relationship to self, how you look at things, how you deal with things like that. But there is a part that's not really about, okay, let's put it this way, for instance. I talked at the start about how Theo is a highly sensitive person. Like every little impression, whether physical, sound, noise, other people's energy, he senses things quite strongly, which when he's doing great, it's like a superpower. You know, it's like, you know, it's just like knowing things without having to try, right? Because you sense it. But, you know, stressed and overwhelmed or in a poor mental state, everything can feel like kind of like daggers, right? Still get quite annoyed in this state by noises and stuff, you know. But that sensitivity can be developed too by, you know, the way we work is that the body, you know, the brain kind of prioritizes. You take a lot of stuff in, but there's some kind of unconscious hierarchy of what your brain deems like necessary for you to focus on. You know, you know that you can choose where you put your awareness. Okay, like I've done that point many times in videos. That look around you now. Look around you in the room and look for all the. I want you to memorize all the red objects. All the red objects. Okay. Now, tell me about all the brown objects you saw. Probably you don't, you know, like, there might be something you just know, right? But it's like, no, you are aware of the red stuff, because that's where you put your awareness. But now look for the brown stuff, okay? Okay, Did you find any brown stuff? Yeah. It's actually not the greatest example for the exact point. It's like I figure these things out to such a high degree. I'm sorry, guys, if it's unclear. I'm sorry I sound all high and mighty and full of myself. I just know things so fucking well, guys. But it's not the perfect example, but it goes to show that you can put your awareness somewhere. And if you really put your awareness in your body, like, in a specific muscle, for instance, and stuff like that, you can become way more in touch with your body. It's amazing, like I realized through doing this work that most people, they live in this body that it's like living in a 10-room apartment, of course, many more rooms in the body, For the point, you've only been in one or two of the rooms. You haven't even explored the other rooms and seen what's in there, right? I had such poor connection. Like my left leg, that was a neurological thing. It was almost like a ghost muscle on the back of the left leg. It's still much weaker, both like actual terms of strength, but my connection to it is weaker. But I feel it in a very different way. Standing here, I can sense my entire left side being weaker because I know it is. And I can't really quite describe what that feels like when I'm not using the muscles. But I can feel it in a way that I never felt before. Like, you might know that if you're right-handed, when you do something, you're worse with the left hand. This is a different thing. It's like, I can really, really feel this, okay? Yeah. So you see, you can really, this is when I talk about cultivating traits sometimes. Just put your awareness in a certain place. Focus on something. When the instruction, how to get better at something, isn't quite clear, just have an intention that, if I want to improve my body-mind muscle connection, well, I do an exercise and I really think about that muscle. I think about the information I have, just intellectually, about how a biceps works when flexing the elbow, and I focus really on feeling that biceps. And over time, you're going to build doing this with all of you, you're going to build a completely different connection to yourself. And this is the point, guys, it's not just about the muscles either. You can do this with any aspect of you. Any aspect of you, bring attention to, awareness, have an intention for something to happen. Focus even. You have bad focus. I'm really going to do my best right now to focus on this thing. I'm gonna clean the dishes, not having a distraction of podcast or something. I'm just really going to focus on what I'm doing. Doing this kind of thing, you're going to be able to channel your focus better and so on, right? It's like this video did not end up what I thought it was going to be at the start at all. I'm clearly too high state. It's like I'm seeing the bigger picture too much to talk about the smaller picture. Unless you point me there, like on a live stream, for instance. But one last thing I want to tell you to try to tell you what I've actually accomplished with myself here is, well, it's not the only thing, again, but golf. I played golf on Gotland on vacation now. It's a game I've played for a long time, for most of my life, just never specialized, like become super good at it. And there were some years in my 20s when I didn't really play at all. Then I played for the first time in years when I had been training for 4 years, I think, 3 or 4 years. And I was just way better at the sport. From having, like, I'm stronger, I always hit the ball a bit further. Just better connection to my body. So I'm just more accuracy in hitting the ball. But not just this. I noticed that my focus, knowing what's going on with all the other people, keeping track of where people's balls lie. That's the thing in golf. Sometimes when you don't have a very successful shot, you have to find the ball. You try to, on distance, see, determine it could be around there, so you go find it. And I just seem to have a superpower that I play much better. I keep track of everything going on with everyone else. I help them find their balls all the time, And I was not always like that. I was not like that when I played golf the previous times. You see, you can become better at literally fucking everything. That's what I want to tell you with uncommon sense, right? And that I apologize if it's all unclear and too much. And it's just that I know that all these things are possible for you. All these things are possible for you. And it's such a fucking cool thing. You really, 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 you cannot change who you are at the core. the physical is the easiest to take the examples of that. I cannot become taller, cannot become black-haired or green-eyed or whatever, but I can shape myself to many different things, over time. Many of the things, most things even about me, are not set in stone. We can even change the body, like the muscle and the fat, right? The skin quality, the hair quality, but it's so much more. You can really shape yourself into the version of you that you want to be in every sense of the word. Any trait, any vague little thing, think of it like this. I still know some words that I use, some body language stuff that I use, some sort of bits to do when I make a certain point. I know that they are learned behaviors from other people that I used to spend time with. It's like a thing, like this I don't do so much in videos, but it's a bit I know I got from a guy that I never spent time with anymore. That's just stayed with me. And I used the word guys. That comes from the choir that I was in. That was like the general term for we had, because it's not a Swedish word, but we still said it, right? And it has a certain energy for me to talk to the group as the guys. For instance, you see, you can take in, as long as you don't go against what you truly are. You can shape yourself. I like that thing from that person. I just like to be more like that. It's not like, I think I need to be like that to be cool. Then it's never going to work. It's not going to be authentic. But point being is you can take in anything from anyone and become more like that. That's the point. I'll end this video here. I'm going to have to do some editing. Please like and comment, and please fucking do it. Like you do comment, guys. It's not that. I get a lot of positive feedback. I don't just want that, I want to know, how can I better communicate my ideas to you guys. I'm clearly failing many times at making myself understood. I'm sorry I'm not so good at that, please help me become a better communicator, a better coach, so that I can better help you reach the kinds of results that I have, that I'm so happy with, that I would love for you to have as well, okay? Please, I do holistic bodybuilding coaching, jacked and stacked, mentally, physically, spiritually, working on ourselves, body, mind, and soul. All of this stuff is always easier working with an individual. So now I'm trying always on the videos to speak to some kind of general person, but it's very different. People are often very surprised the way I speak to them when I work with them directly. It's very different usually to my videos, because of course the person, in one way or another I'm talking to here, it must be very based on me, because you see what I mean. Well, when you have someone and you get to know them, it's like, okay, I understand this guy, this is what I need to tell him, please subscribe. I do have a training book. That one is more geared towards actual info about the training. Honestly, I made a book, so I feel like I don't have to talk about the technicalities of the things. It's like all the stuff in there, you have the info to build a muscle and get in shape. Now use that and come back here for the mindset and other stuff, that will help you actually put the technical stuff into practice, okay? Please subscribe for more content about fitness, fast losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys, a growth mindset, a mindset of being curious, optimistic, and eager to evolve in every fucking way. Peace.